With this video, we are celebrating the 10-year anniversary of Blurryface from 21 Pilots. So it's going to be a special one, guys. Let's see how good it still is 10 years later. And you are watching Tumblr Retrospective on The Current.
Hello, editor retrospective here. It took a really long time for me to put this video together. That was partially due to technical difficulties. First of all, the audio is a bit strange because somehow my audio got recorded sped up and then I had to slow it down to match it to the video. I didn't feel like refilming this video because the energy I had was just really good. Second of all, I make some mistakes. I say that I saw them in 2015 when I really saw them in 2016, so it will say on screen, but yeah, those are the only mistakes I made and the things I wanted to highlight before we get started. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy the video.
21 Pilots is a two-piece band from Columbus, Ohio, consisted of members Tyler Joseph, who is 36, and Josh Dunn, who is also 36. They were both born in 1988, which I think is pretty neat. They're much older than I thought for some reason. I think Tyler Joseph is one of those people that just inevitably looks young no matter what he does. I think he's only starting to age a little bit recently, but whatever. Who cares about that? Also, before we get into it, I just really want to mention something about my outfit. I feel like usually I can put in a little bit more effort in regards to how I look, but one, I don't own any 21 Pilots merchandise. I don't own any of their albums. I just have completely gotten rid of any of the clothing that I owned from that era that had like skeletons or creep or any of those kind of like pale grunge vibe things. I don't own those things. So I just genuinely did not have anything to wear for this video. I hope you didn't think it was a cop-out. In my defense, it is currently 20 degrees outside and I'm inside with all the curtains closed with a beanie on. So I do think that that was the best I could do. I have to be honest, right out the gate, I only listened to this album twice, and that would be the album that I listened to the least since I started doing this series, but I just really felt it wasn't necessary for me. For me to re-listen to this album more than twice, because I know this album front to back. I actually I think definitely up until 2019 when Trench just came out, I was still listening to 21 Pilots a lot. I carried this album with me for quite a long time and I have listened to it a lot. I did not feel like I was forgetting some parts when I was re-listening to the album. Like the whole thing just felt really familiar. Because of that, the approach just had to be a little bit different. And I'm also just going to be trying something slightly different for this video, just because I felt it was necessary. So let me start with this quote from Coupe de Man, which is a very common source on this channel. And it is a review from one of their concerts. It's very hard to describe 21 Pilots in a single sentence. The Ohio duo transcend the typical restraints of musical genres, creating a sound one could best describe as alternative rock, ska, punk, reggae, experimental pop. And that's the most concise version I can muster up. The band themselves dubbed their music schizoid pop. I want to talk a little bit about my credentials as I don't want to say a member of the clique, but I was definitely a 21 Pilots fan. There's a lot of music that I was introduced to from this music channel that we had in the Netherlands called MTV Brand New. And I will never forget the day that I first saw the music video for Holding On To You. And that was a time when I was already really into All Time Low and to Paramore. And that's actually funny because 21 Pilots was signed to Fueled by Ramen, which is a company that also had Paramore signed at one point. So there's a little bit of a connection there. Paramore have talked about them in interviews. So yeah, I was already a fan by the time this album came out. 21 Pilots was very popular on Tumblr. Let me just read you the most reblogged albums of 2015 on Tumblr. Can you guess what number one is? Number 1, Blurryface by 21 Pilots. 2, Badlands by Halsey. 3, Made in the AM by One Direction. 4, Sounds Good, Feels Good by 5 Seconds of Summer. 5, Fruit by Marine and the Diamonds. 6, If You're Reading It, It's Too Late by Drake. I was honestly really surprised to see that one. 7, Future Hearts by All Time Low. 8, Honeymoon by Lana Del Rey. 9, Cry Baby by Melanie Martinez. 10, American Beauty, American Psycho by Fall Out Boy. 11, To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar. 12, Rodeo by Travis Scott. 13, Cherry Bomb by Tyler, the Creator. 14, Blue Neighborhood by Troye Sivan. 15, Purpose by Justin Bieber. So those were the contenders that we had at the time. I think 2015 is probably one of the years that I remember most fondly because I was living in London at the time, and at that time in my life, that was my main goal in life. To this day, I still really love London, and I would love to go back, but yeah, it was simultaneously one of the best years of my life, but also one of the hardest. I was into 21 Pilots at that time, and I saw them twice that year. And I will just also name all of their concerts that I went to. I saw them twice at Reading. So the first time was at Reading in 2015, and then the second time was Reading in 2019. Then I saw them at Brixton Academy in 2015 or early 2016, I'm pretty sure. And then I saw them in the Ziggo Dome in the Netherlands here. And before we get into the music, and usually I talk about artwork as well, I just want to go into the fan base and also just kind of the reputation that 21 Pilots has. And usually I wouldn't really do that just because I want to focus on Tumblr as a phenomena, and I really want to paint a picture of the musical landscape. There was a lot of things that were going on Tumblr, but I do genuinely think that it is a misunderstood platform, and I think people have a bad impression or an incorrect impression of what it is really like. So I think that when people think about Tumblr, the 21 Pilots fan base is probably the first thing that they think of. I genuinely don't mean that in a mean way. I don't mean to clock anyone. I don't mean to come for anyone, but it is just generally, especially in today's day and age, seen as the lefty communist card-carrying blue head cesspool of transgender people. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how those people would describe it. The introduction or impression that people had of 21 Pilots is kind of intertwined with the assumption that people have about Tumblr and about the demographic that uses Tumblr. Even though there's many different people that use Tumblr, and especially back in 2015. So I just wanted to kind of, I wouldn't say debate or platform the bad takes that people had about 21 Pilots, but I think everybody is aware of the fact that it's an acquired taste. Some people call it pop music, some people think it's rap. I think the most painful comparison that 21 Pilots has ever gotten is Imagine Dragons. Everyone kind of imagines the multicolored hair theater kid in the 21 Pilots fan base, right? So even though I'd usually never do this, read and platform something that I totally don't agree with, I did just genuinely feel like it was necessary. I also, before I start reading this, I just want to say that in 2015, 21 Pilots was so popular that it was like, it was almost giving Travis Scott Astroworld vibes. The fans were rabid. I remember in particular at Reading, Tyler Joseph goes into the crowd. I just remember being in the crowd and being a bit confused. I don't even remember what song it was. I don't even think there was any kind of song playing, but you know, he starts climbing the stage, and that's just kind of a part of their show. If you've ever been to one of their shows, you would know that there's kind of like a stunt-like quality involved. So at one point, he goes into the crowd, and then he climbs up one of the posts, and I think he went in with something covering him, and he came out just with his trousers and his ripped shirt. People were obsessed, crazy, going absolutely wild for this band. So, like, I do understand where the reputation comes from, but still, nonetheless, I want to debunk it, and I want to just give a description of how people were viewing 21 Pilots and their fan base and people on Tumblr, because again, those things are like basically intertwined into the minds of bigoted people. So yeah, This dude, I don't think I'm even going to credit him because it's not worth it. And if you type it into Google, you will be able to find it. But this person describes them as, I'm already really angry. An even bigger audience of 8th graders and 20-somethings who insist cosplay isn't just dressing up as their favorite comic, video game, anime characters, but an extension of one's soul. The kids who have never heard a Beatles record, the adults who are up their ears in student loans, yet spend every single dime of their paycheck on beer and tattoos of My Little Pony characters. You know the kind. 21 Pilots, on the other hand, play up their fan base and have somehow convinced the general public their songs are deep and thought-provoking. If you are intelligent enough to understand that a pop song is capable of articulating feelings of loss and redemption, then you should be intelligent enough to know that this band and record label is churning out paint-by-the-numbers alternative for kids who aren't old enough to understand what loss, hope, and redemption really is. 21 Pilots is very much this generation's Limp Bizkit. And no matter how many angry tweens or never grow up 20-somethings come down my street to burn down my house for saying it, 5 years down the road, they are going to be pretty embarrassed with themselves for defending such a terrible band. This is actually from another review that was from 2018 or 2019 from the same website. When depressive characters become our role models, we're subscribing to the notion that we can't be interesting unless we've been hurt. In addition to looking up to introverts and the socially awkward, we feed our own insecurities, almost as if we're self-diagnosing a mental illness to justify the mood we might be in. This is not to say mental disorders are non-existent by any means. More often than not, people are fighting an inner demon that keeps them from being truly happy. Cheers. Thanks for acknowledging that. Mental illness isn't fun, depression isn't beautiful, personality disorders aren't quirky, relating to someone or something can be a healthy step in progress, but it's also important to monitor how these people or things are making us feel. Listen, Aaron, you mentioned that you dealt with similar problems in these articles when you were younger, but that doesn't make you as self-aware as you think it does. There's nothing wrong with finding solace in music. Tyler is just describing his own battle with depression. People relate to that. So, what's the issue? The music is just a shoulder to cry on, and you listen to the music and it listens to you. I think one of the best things our generation did was destigmatize mental health. What's so wrong with having representation? I just generally feel like, and I'm going off script here, I'm just gonna yap for a little bit. I just genuinely feel like the criticism towards my generation in particular, when it comes to stuff like this, is just completely unfounded. Thank God that we have spaces online to talk about how we feel and how, we're doing. And exactly, like I just said, destigmatizing mental health. There's nothing wrong with that. I'll get into this in a little bit, but Tyler Joseph himself is much more self-aware than this guy ever is. Like, it just sounds like he's projecting. I think everybody who has a criticism for 21 Pilots in particular is projecting, at least in some capacity. And, like, I get it. I really do. These people aren't hurting anyone, and I think especially because in that year a lot of people in the 21 Pilots fandom knew that the craziness was going a little bit too far, and everybody was telling each other like, hey, just like tone it down a little bit, and everybody's just like going mad a little bit. Like, I really get where the criticism comes from, but I just think that if you're going to criticize 21 Pilots music for being something that romanticizes depression, you really aren't looking past the surface. You are not reading the lyrics, you are not looking at interviews, you're not really doing any kind of research to find out what's really the meaning behind it all, right? I said that pretty well, so I'm gonna move on. Okay, so let's talk about the album artwork. So I found this really cool post on Tumblr where this person was analyzing the patterns that were behind the 9 circles that are featured on the cover. This person is basically saying, I was looking at my Blurryface album and noticed something I haven't seen before on Tumblr or anywhere. Why hasn't anyone questioned why there are 15 designs yet 14 songs? Is there a 15th song we don't know about yet? What is this? Also, what is the black and white blob randomly on it? I need answers. I don't think we ever found the answer to this question. There was never really an official interpretation given besides one of the art directors that worked on the art direction of this album, and this is from Wikipedia. On his blog, Reich mentions the different feel of the artwork compared to that of Vessel, and how the red on Blurryface is the color of passion, violence, and anger, although the band is famous for their content being open to interpretation. And also, I remember at the time when BTS came out with their album Wings the year after, and again, I was not an ARMY at this time, that people were accusing BTS of plagiarizing 21 Pilots because the album covers are really, really similar. I don't think it's being plagiarized. I could be wrong. There's a lot of plagiarizing that happens in K-pop, and they're generally really lazy when it comes to album covers. And I actually don't own Wings. Like, I can't show it to you, but I'll just put a picture up on the screen. But I thought that was an interesting little tidbit that I wanted to mention. So let's get into the track list. Before I do that, I just want to mention that there's a very deep lore that goes with this album. I'm pretty sure there are at least 10 other videos that you can watch when it comes to the lore of 21 Pilots. I won't be getting into that. Otherwise, I would be here for 10 hours, and I'm not gonna do that. I'll be getting into it a little bit when it comes to imagery as we move through the track list, but I just didn't think it was important enough to mention. We start this album off with a banger of a track, Heavy Dirty Soul, and there's something so drum and bass coded about this song. Josh Dunn is hitting those drums like his life is depending on it. I love the way it is mixed. It sounds so crisp and awesome. Having seen this song live a couple times, singing those lyrics, "Can you save my heavy dirty soul?" It just feels like gospel. I'm not joking, I love the song. It has aged so gracefully. 10 out of 10. Okay, then we have Stressed Out. I did want to look up the chart performance for the song. However, I decided against it because I think everybody can just kind of guess how famous this song was. It really defied everyone's expectations. It is a worldwide hit. Everybody knows the song, and I'm actually still to this day really surprised that this song is so famous. And like, just to get back into the self-awareness that I mentioned just now, I do think that this is where this album already starts getting really self-aware right at track 2, because it is just describing all of those genuine concerns that our generation has, and that's good. I do think we need songs like that, and I do think that we need songs that say, "I was told when I get older all my fears would shrink, but now I'm insecure and I care what people think." Yeah, it just repeats that, right? I care what you think. And I think a lot of people just relate to that, and you don't have to be in the skeleton clique to relate to that sentiment. And I think that also speaks to why this song was as successful as it was. Out of student loans and treehouse homes, we all would take the ladder. Now we're stressed out. Everybody relates to that. Everybody wants to go back to the good old days. And everybody relates to the wake up, you need to make money. Like, I think it just, in general, really on its face, directly says how a lot of people feel. That's quite amazing. And it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be upset about that. And it's okay to just say it, because it's the path to accepting how you feel, right? And we don't always need every song to be fucking happy, or every song to be about love, or every song to be about some topic that is just fake, right? The song is very genuine. And yeah, I think that's all I'm gonna say about that. Then we have the next song, Ride. And this reggae inspired crazy amalgamation of a song was actually a top 5 hit as well. It was popular alongside with Stressed Out. And again, we just have so many good lines on this song that really encapsulate our generation's feelings about depression and anxiety. Like, "I've been thinking too much. Help me." But yeah, this song is just catchy. Especially, I would really recommend singing the song at karaoke because the belt at the end is so fun to do. And yeah, I love the song. It is one of my favorite songs on the album. Fuck, I've been yapping for half an hour already. Oh my fucking god. Okay, then we have the wife guy anthem, Tear in My Heart. I only actually realized because I am a K-pop stan now. I do have to mention that I also am learning Korean. I won't get into that now, but I realized when I was listening to the song that the intro is just saying 안녕하세요. But yeah, the lore behind that is apparently on their previous album, they would chant things at their shows in Asia. Even the video for Guns for Hands has some kanji on one of the title screens, and that's why they incorporated that into the song. But yeah, this song is just catchy, it's wonderful, it's happy, and I do think that is really where this album breaks up in a nice way, because yeah, it can be quite of a downer. Like, you need to be in the right mood to listen to this album. Again, it's a quiet taste, right? So if you like this album, you don't have any problem returning to it, but I think the average listener would enjoy having a bit of a break with Tear in My Heart. Speaking of self-awareness, then we have Lane Boy. First of all, before we get into the lyrics, I just really want to say this song is so amazing to witness live, because it's the one where they take the drums onto the crowd and they give everybody earplugs and they hold up the drums and they fire the confetti and they just start drumming on the crowd, and it's just one of the best feelings. I would really recommend for anyone to go to a 21 Pilots show. I know, like I said, their songs and music are really in a quiet taste, but they really know how to put on a show. This song is a great example of that. I'm not going to say that much more about this song. It is in a quiet taste. I'm gonna take a shot every time I say a quiet taste, but let me just read you pretty much half of this song. They think this thing is a highway. If it was our way, we'd have a tempo change every other time change, because our minds change on what we think is good. I wasn't raised in the hood, but I know a thing or two about pain and darkness. If it wasn't for this music, I don't know how I would have fought this. All these songs I'm hearing are so heartless. Don't trust a perfect person, and don't trust a song that's flawless. Honest, there's a few songs on this record that feel common. I'm in constant confrontation with what I want and what is popping in the industry, and it seems to me that singles on the radio are currency. My creativity's only free when I'm playing shows. And I think that's pretty much as self-aware as you can get. They know that their message might just not land with everybody. That is mentioned later in Message Man as well. These lyrics aren't for everyone, few only understand. And I didn't really want to skip along in the track list, but for Message Man, I just wanted to play you this amazing meme. I'm taking this moment to live in the future. Release me from the present. I'm obsessing on these questions. Thank you. Then we have The Judge, and again, this one, especially if you're a fan of Vessel and you are listening to this album for the first time, this is a really nice segue. You know, 21 Pilots is pretty much known for their brand of ukulele emo, and this is one of those songs where it's just really, I don't know, it's especially really nice to have it in their live set. The crowd engagement is really fun, and it again just has an amazing line that everybody really relates to, and there were so many memes out of this. I'm thinking, wow, I probably should have stayed inside my house. Okay, since I have 8 minutes left. I've been talking for so long, I didn't realize that this video was going to be so long. Then I will just really quickly want to talk about Doubt and the experience that you get if you hear this live. So they do a really amazing thing when it comes to crowd engagement with this song, because there's a layered, I don't want to say gang vocal, delayed almost, you could say. And when I saw them in Brixton Academy, Tyler Joseph had this amazing way to command the crowd and to really explain the timing really well. If I can find a clip, I will put it in. But it was really, really amazing to be in there and to be basically in the middle of a gospel choir. Like, that's really how it felt. Like, I'm not religious, but yeah, I do understand why some people really feel like 21 Pilots fan base and Tumblr culture can feel a bit like a cult sometimes. That was probably the closest to having a Tumblr cult religious experience that I could have ever imagined. But it was amazing. It was amazing. Then we have Polarize. And I just remember losing my shit. Because every time I listen to this song, I just see the vine. Help me roll of rice, help me roll of rice, help me down those stairs. Oh, it's just where this, you know, the fan base was really popping off and everybody was just having a good time and laughing and just, you know, my favorite line on the song is definitely where we go da 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 da. We have problems. My friends and I have problems. Ugh, that's just great. Like, I can relate to that. I can relate to that. All of my friends have problems, and so do I. Then, really quickly, we don't believe what's on TV. I love the lines here. We have all learned to kill our dreams. What if my dream does not happen? Well, I just changed what I told my friends. I relate to that, and I'm not gonna get into that. Just a classic 21 Pilots ukulele rendition, because you need at least a couple on this album. We are moving on to the last two tracks. I have 5 minutes. I think I can do it. Then we have Hometown. I think this is one of my personal favorites on this album. It's just so Vessel coded, and I love Vessel. Almost a bit of an 80s influence. And I'm guessing that this is maybe the first hint that Tyler gave to drop the Dima law. Our Hometown's in the dark, but this song just gets really vibey, and I don't know, I just love it. It was one of my favorites when it came out, and it's one of my favorites now. And then we have Gonna, which is the most devastating conclusion, but it also is one of the better songs on the album. I just love the kind of a hopeful tone that it ends on, even though the song is like really sad, especially like the tone of it, the key that it's in, the screaming, you know, don't let me be a goner, like, I really get it because it's just like reaching out, asking for help. Yeah, it's just one of those songs that if they play it live, you'll like, you know, burst out in tears, especially if you really relate to this song. You relate to the themes that Tyler is talking about. And that's why I thought it was really offensive that that guy said like, oh, they don't know what real loss and stuff like that is. As if people that age can't be depressed because losing a loved one or being bullied at school, being sexually assaulted, having a drug addiction, maybe a combination of all of those things. Like, you can definitely be upset and have something to talk about, but at least there's a community that supports you and wants to save your life, right? And help each other stay alive. There's nothing wrong with that. And if I want to make one thing clear out of this video, I will defend 21 Pilots and their message until the day I fucking die. Where are 21 Pilots now? They're actually touring. They had this album that was also a continuation of the Dima Law called Clancy that they released last year. I really liked it, of course, you know, but again, 21 Pilots is an acquired taste, so you either like it or you don't. Either you love it or you hate it, and, you know, that's fine. That's fine. I hate the Beatles, so again, fuck you, Aaron. So yeah, go see 21 Pilots on tour. Check out Blurryface again if you haven't in a long time. Please let me know what your favorite song is. Leave it in the comments. And like, subscribe for more Tumblr retrospective. And I will see you with a surprise video next week. Peace.